made a reference the other time to the fact that the APC, though it was new at the time, has since been subsumed its identity with that of some other people from another political party. Let's say your party becomes that new force in the next dispensation, and people from these other political parties join you. What makes you think that your party will not become just like what we are saying about the incumbent now?
No, party politics is a free game for everyone to join. But if you have internal discipline, if you maintain a leadership structure that adheres to internal discipline and is not that which compromises at will, then we'll get it right. You cannot stop anyone from joining your party. It's open to everyone, every Nigerian. But you must have the leadership that is firm and that will not compromise. What we find with the APC is a compromise. People join the APC so that they will not get persecuted or prosecuted by the law. That's not right. And you see, the largest party in Nigeria probably doesn't have more than 1 million registered voters. In a country that, as members, in a country that has about 84 million registered voters. So a larger segment of the population are not registered members of any party. And they are watching all these musical chairs going on back and forth. You're here one term singing the praises of a party, then a new party comes in, you're being prosecuted by the authorities, and to get off the scale, you join this party. This doesn't augur well. It doesn't create the hope for future Nigerians that we're getting it right. And this is where maturity and proper administration comes in. Like, you know, you can't stop anyone from joining a party, but you can administer and have one rule that guides the process completely.
Okay, let's go to the people that you expect to give you the job of president of Nigeria. How well do you see the entire voter education apparatus in the build-up to the February elections? What do you think of the voter education or voter awareness system that we have all put on so far for this election?
Clearly there's awareness. Nigerians know that they're going to the polls in a couple of days. What I'm not sure we have right now is motivation, because folks are saying, okay, if these are the players we have, what's the difference? What's the difference between A and B? So that's the motivation factor. But the awareness is there. I mean, literally everyone is aware of elections going on now, and it happens every 4 years. But even with all the awareness that we get, you find that turnout is really dismal. 35%, just a third of the registered voters come out. And that's where the motivation factor comes in, because they're not motivated to go through the strain of lining up for a couple of hours to vote for people they don't believe in. And this is what we've got to change. And this is why it's important and critical that we have new faces on the block. I think I'm on the brink of becoming an old face. And so we need to encourage the next generation. We need to prepare them for leadership and encourage them to come out. Nigerians are globally recognized as one of the most dynamic people. But when it comes to our leadership, I'm afraid we put a poor showing. And this is quite embarrassing, not only to us as a people, but literally to the continent.
Well, Mr. Duke, I remember your comments some years ago when you spoke about how elections were rigged, and it was really famous. It went viral at that point in time. So, do you believe in the system now?
I think you got that wrong. I was talking about how the system is compromised because the electoral body, INEC, is not given the freedom to work as it ought to. And not much has changed. It's all last minute. It's last minute, the budget was passed. You know every 4 years you're going to do this. So you have 4 years to prepare for it. In 4 years you can get, you don't put everything at the last budget, you know, just before the elections. And that's why there's some skepticism whether we can actually have this thing on the 16th of February. The INEC should start preparing the 2023 elections immediately after the new administration comes in. That's after the 29th of May. Now, if they don't, they'll be relying, and this was my point in that statement, they will be relying on external forces, in this case, state governments, to provide support. And once you provide, you depend on state governments, then you're depending on the players to aid the referee, and this you can't adjust the system free and fair. This is what has been going on, and I hope we learn the lessons from this. But I'm not sure we don't start early enough. I was quite disappointed when we were asking for a budget for the elections just a few months ago, a month or two ago, when we knew the dates were fixed. We know that this is a 4-year ritual, and we never prepare for it. By now, we should have a totally electronic system so that we know that very few hands are involved in the process. It's totally electronic, and the democracy is all over the world. We are not pioneers in this. There are nations that are larger than us. India, for instance, has almost 1 billion voters, and they get it right. Why can't we with 84 million people?
So tell us now, why do you want to be president?
Because I see a nation in dire straits that seems to be quivering and not knowing what to do with itself. And I think I have the answers to make it right. And that's really why I'm going for it. It's not to put myself forward and try and make a name. No, I think I'm blessed in that regard. But I know that if we don't get it right, not just me would suffer, but all of us. All of us are at risk. We're all endangered species one way or the other. The poverty that prevails our nation, the insecurities which are symptoms of the poverty, someone has to step forward and do it. We can't sit back and hope that it would happen. People make things happen. Things don't just happen. I had 8 years, thankfully, in Cross River State, and we made it happen. We put together a team of young and determined people, and I think we changed the trajectory of the state. The nation needs the same, and the nation is blessed to do the same.
What's your plan for job creation?
Well, there are 4 things I think we need to focus on: skills, health, infrastructure, and we need to embrace technology. You need to look at our skill base. It's poor. I would like a nation where it's compulsory that every child between the ages of 4 and 18 is in school, and by the time you leave school at the age of 18, which is SS3, you've acquired a skill. 2, we need to have a health system which is affordable and approachable. And we have an NHIS scheme which is not working. Of course, infrastructure and all that. But let me take 2 critical sectors: credit availability. You cannot grow an economy where banks are charging between 25 and 30% interest rate. That is a no-no. So if for instance, you borrow 10 million naira, the first year of operation, you're going to have to pay back to the banks about 3 million naira. That doesn't work. That doesn't encourage young people and entrepreneurship. That kills it. The only beneficiary in this system are the banks themselves. And you can see the glorified lifestyles that they live. That's 1. 2, the other part of it is the dismal infrastructure, namely energy. We've been doing the same thing over and over the years and getting dismal results. Maybe we should try something different. Our nation flares about 2.8, or used to, I think it's a bit lower now, 2.5 billion cubic feet of gas daily, which is equivalent to 25 million liters of diesel. Now, if you're going to put turbines to power all of Africa, it would not consume 25 million liters of diesel. That's a tremendous amount of power that we are flaring. Now, I have a policy. Anything that is essential must be local. So, for instance, water that is essential to life must be localized. You can't produce water in Lagos and pump it to Abuja for people to survive on. The same thing with energy. In modern living, energy, electricity is essential. So you cannot generate, for instance, from Afam and supply Sokoto. You need to generate locally, transmit and distribute within an ambit. So what we're required to do is totally decentralize the fuel, which we have a preponderance of gas, and generate locally. If we're able to do that, we would provide electricity in a more stable manner than we've been doing. That's one. Two, let's get our priorities right. This is a nation that imports literally all the fuel it uses and subsidizes what it imports. But gas that we have in abundance and that we flare, we have such abundance of gas and we even flare it, we charge international rates for the gas for local consumption. It doesn't make sense. We spend more money subsidizing fuel than we spend on education. We spend more money subsidizing fuel than we spend on health. We spend more money subsidizing fuel that we spend on repairing the roads that the cars will drive on. It just doesn't make sense. And no government, at least in recent times, has had the political will to do the right thing. I would rather we subsidize gas and move the nation from fuel dependence to gas. I admit that due to the hardships that we have, we need some sort of palliative to make life easier for people. Subsidy, if you're flaring gas, that means you have an abundance of it. You can give it for next to nothing. That should be the subsidy that we give industry. If you had affordable credits, if you had available and pretty cheap gas, the goods that you produce will be competitive, if not within the sub-region, if not, probably even globally. It would attract further investments into the country. We keep on talking of FDI, foreign direct investment. Only fools thread where angels dare. If your people are not investing in the economy, don't expect foreigners to come in. Right. Foreigners don't just walk into your country and start investing. It's the locals that attract them to bring them in. All right. And so we need to look at the issues. I know the government talks about ease of doing business. You can't talk about ease of doing business when you're not even a productive economy. This is a mercantile economy. We're trading all the time and consuming. All right, so then we need to answer at that point, I'm afraid. One, let's address... I'm afraid we need to answer at that point. Interest rates and availability of funding, and we can look at the energy conundrum that we find ourselves. All right, then Mr. Donald Duke, presidential candidate of SDP and former governor of Cross River State, thank you for talking to us today, and all the best. All right, so we will be back in a moment. I turn our attention to an equally important matter. Don't go away.